Welcome to the Deck Chef YouTube channel, the most flavorful Magic the Gathering Commander channel on the internet. I'm your Deck Chef, and I'll be your guide through the succulent journey of Commander deck brewing. Today we have the Blood of the Divine. We were taking a little break from the other decks that we've been working on, which were decks that my friends suggested or asked me to take a look at, to go back to some of my decks. This is one that I've played for a number of years now, and it keeps changing, getting new cards with each new set. We have lots of angels in Magic the Gathering. And this guy, Shilgengar, Sire of Famine, a 5-mana 6/6 Elder Demon with flying, likes to sacrifice angels. I mean, frankly, he likes to sacrifice any creature, and will give you a blood token if you do. But if you sacrifice an angel that way, you can create a number of blood tokens equal to the toughness of that angel. And why do we need blood tokens? Well, for one, Shilgengar seems like he's the type of guy who deals in blood, as demons are wont to do. But more importantly, his 3 hybrid mana ability says sacrifice 6 blood tokens to return each creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Those creatures are vampires in addition to their other types. This deck is an angel typal deck. Now, there are different ways you can make Shilgengar. I think like later on I might actually include some other versions of the deck that have vampires in it to sort of reanimate your creatures and then turn them all into vampires and use vampire synergies to return them to the battlefield or tap them to gain control of creatures, things like that. But for this deck, it is called the Blood of the Divine because this is what Shilgengar craves. He craves divine essence, and that is what comes in all of these angels. Now, there are other ways to get our angels into the graveyard. We can discard them, but most of the time, we're going to be playing out angels adjacent to Shilgengar and use those angels to make blood tokens. His ability to sacrifice doesn't have any cost besides sacrificing the creature, and it can be used at any time. So it gives us a lot of leeway as to when we sacrifice these creatures. We could sacrifice them in response to board wipes. We could sacrifice them in response to their own board wipe effects and still get the blood tokens. And even if Shilgengar dies, we'll have a bunch of blood just sitting on the battlefield that we can use for other things. There are other spells in the deck that make blood tokens. Camber the Plunderer is from one of the... I believe it's... oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the set. Crimson Vow. Commander decks. The Vampire one. Camber the Plunderer is a 4-mana 3/4 Vampire Rogue. It has a partner with Lorene Diversion. She's red, so she can't go in this deck, unfortunately. But this lifelink creature says whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you gain 1 life and create a blood token. So while this is on the field, it's not just our creatures dying that gives us blood, it's also our opponent's creatures. So Camber can actually up our blood quota and actually become a good way to get extra material to use for Shilgengar's mass reanimation effect. We also have other cards that make tokens. Things like Wojak Investigator, which also happens to be an angel. It's an angel detective. It lets you investigate once for each opponent who has more cards in their hand than you during your upkeep, which means if we're playing out our stuff as we're supposed to, then and our opponents are drawing more cards than us, which they might be in these colors, then we get more clues, and clues can be used later on to either draw cards or kill opponents with things like Mirkwood Bats or Marionette Master. Yes, the deck wants to reanimate all our angels and have them be vampiric angels that serve this demon. That's the flavor win. But we have other ways to win too. And things like Marionette Master are perfect in decks where you're making a lot of little tokens. The same is true for Mirkwood Bats, which if it's on the battlefield when we're sacrificing angels to Shilgengar, we can make a ton of blood tokens, which will the creation trigger will then make our opponents lose that much life, and then sacrifice those tokens to Shilgengar, which will also make our opponents lose life. So depending on the turn you play this, you could just kill your opponents outright with a bat. That's why this card is busted, and it's $1.99 common. It's just a great card. But anyway, we said there are other ways to get our cards into the graveyard, so we're going to go through the spells of the deck first, and then we'll go through and the lands, and then we'll go through the angels. Most of our lands are the dual lands that you'd expect to see in a deck like this. Caves of Koilos and Concealed Courtyard. We have Forsaken Statuary, Orzhov Basilica, Temple of Silence. Takanuma is a cool card that lets us mill cards and then return a legendary or a creature card or planeswalker card. So it could be any of the angels that are in there because of other reasons. But it's also just a good card to have. We are running Tainted Field, we're running Mutavault because Mutavault can be an angel in a pinch and give us those extra 2 blood tokens we might need to reanimate everything. Shadowy Backstreet lets us put angels into the graveyard right away by surveilling them. We're running Godless Shrine because we have to. The same with Isolated Chapel. The same with Forsaken Sanctuary. They're all in here because I love the idea of like this tainted church that's been taken over by a demon and the angels that are now serving it. We have Vault of the Archangel, which gives our creatures Death Launcher lifelink, which will actually become pretty important because we have a lot of high mana cost things. If you look at our curve is not very low. We have some mana rocks at 2 and some stuff at 3, but a lot of our curve is over that line for what we want. So yes, we're trying to discard those cards or play them out, cheating them out, and then sacrificing them. But that might not always happen, so we have to be mindful of that and have stuff in the deck that lets us like stay alive long enough. We also have Great Hall of Starnheim, which can make an angel token if we sacrifice it. That's, it's not a great card, but thematically it's perfect here. And also those angel tokens are important, and I'll get back to that in a little while as to why the angels tokens are important for the deck. We have Animate Dead, great reanimation tool, and Touch the Spirit Realm, which can save our commander in a pinch, or be used to Vanishing Light something. Frisia's Retribution only kind of goes in decks like this. It makes an angel token on the first lore counter. It gives angels the ability to destroy creatures with power less on the second, and the third one it can give our angels double strike, which depending on the timing of the spell can win us the game in one swing. We have all the requisite mana rocks that we need: Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Orzhov Signet, Soul Ring, and Talisman of Hierarchy, because we need to be able to ramp up into our 5 mana commander. We have great removal in this deck: Swords to Plowshares and Anguished Unmaking, which exile stuff. Baleful Mastery, exile stuff. Bitter Triumph can let us discard an angel into our graveyard to be reanimated later and can destroy a thing. Despark is also exiles things, including non-creatures, the same with Generous Gift. And Reprieve is just a good counter spell. I also like the thematicness, the flavor of Reprieve in a deck like this. The idea that the angels or the demon is giving you Reprieve for just a moment, which feels kind of good. Lazeless Acrobatics is in here because you can blink all your creatures. And depending on how you roll, you can blink them twice. That's good for our ETB angels, and you'll see why in a little bit. But what's important is the finality counters from Shilgengar. All the reanimated angels are going to come back with finality counters, which means when they die again, we're not going to be able to do that trick. It's not like other reanimator decks where we can sack a thing, put it back in the graveyard, reanimate it later. Once they come back with Shilgengar's effect, they will have finality counters on them, and they will not be able to come back. They will have no set. They will only have one more death. So Zealous Acrobatics will help us blink all our angels, and then they'll come back in without finality counters, which means that we can pull the trick again if we need to, if the game is going long. The same is true with Nesting Grounds. It can let us move those finality counters off of our creatures onto our opponent's creatures. I love this card for decks like this. I think it's a little tricky land, and the more counters we keep seeing that are useful, ability counters, things like that, this card ends up being very, very good in a lot of these decks. So keep an eye out for this card. We also have Buried Alive, which can put 3 of our angels into the graveyard in one fell swoop. We have Dam, which, come on, of course we're playing Dam in this deck. I mean, we probably could play Wrath of God too, but I feel like Dam was just so much more on the money. Dire Sight is a recent card. It came out in Bloomborough, but we've been seeing it a couple times. You saw it in the Avatar Jumpstart set. It lets us surveil 2, draw 2 cards, and lose 2 life. Surveilling is so powerful. We're learning that now, that it's so much better than Scry, because being able to put stuff in the graveyard means we have access to the graveyard as another hand for certain colors in certain decks, which is why this is a really good draw. Point of Discussion does something similar. Lets you draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, and it creates an extra blood token, which we might need. Starnum Unleashed is a card that I remember seeing on the Command Zone. They mentioned it because it's a card that people kind of forgot about. Kaldheim didn't get to see a lot of major play because it was out during COVID, so people didn't really get to play it in stores. But this card is really, really good. You can foretell it and then play it to make a bunch of angels. You could play it for 4 and make an angel token, that's fine, but if you foretell this card and you end up getting mana to cast it later, you can just come in with a bunch of angel tokens, which Shilgengar can then sack for 4 blood tokens each, or they can just come in and attack your opponents. Unburial Rites is a great reanimation spell for Orzhov. It lets you do it twice, and as long as we are, putting cards in our graveyard with Buried Alive or surveilling them with Dire Sight, we are going to be, or discarding them with blood tokens, because that's the other thing about blood tokens. I keep forgetting to mention that blood tokens can actually be used to discard angels to the graveyard. So if you haven't reanimated a bunch of angels, or you hadn't sacrificed them, but you have extra blood tokens, and you want to be able to put some in there that you reanimate again, you can just use the blood tokens, sacrifice them to discard the card, and then draw the card. It's really, really good. Vindicate's also in here because it's a great removal spell. It's way, way cheaper than it was for years. Yes, Ungression Making is probably better. It's instant. It can exile a permanent, not destroy it. But this is just a card that if you're playing Orzhov and you're an old school Magic player like me, you just want to run it. And I have it, so I might as well use it. So then we get to the meat of the deck, which is the angels, and we'll go over them one by one because I think this is the important thing that the deck does. Chroma Vision of Ixidor is a 7 mana 6/6 with first strike, flying, vigilance, and trample. And the beginning of combat on beginning of each combat, so this is your opponent's combats too. Your other creatures get +1/+1 for flying, first strike, double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, and any of the abilities that are listed there, they'll get an additional +1/+1. So she can turn even your smallest angels like Giada into a serious threat, depending on how many abilities they end up getting. Angelic Field Marshal is good. It pumps itself, becomes a 5/5 for 4, and gives all your creatures vigilance. Vigilance is really good in a deck where you want to be protecting yourself. As this happens as long as you control your commander, which ideally you will be. Otherwise, it's just a 3/3 flyer for 4, which is fine. Angel Despair comes in and destroys the thing, so if you're blinking stuff, another great ETB effect. Angel Finale, same thing. You can exile opponents' graveyards and keep them out of the game as far as their reanimation tactics goes. Angel Serenity is really cool. It's a Ravnica rare. I remember this card when it first came out just being just a very interesting way to get rid of 3 things. You can exile cards from battlefields or cards from graveyards when it enters, and then return the cards to their owner's hands. So it doesn't just exile them like a Banishing Light or something like that, where they just go away and they come back onto the battlefield as soon as that enchantment is gone. They actually go back to their opponent's hands, so your opponent has to recast them. The same can be said of the things that you remove. So if you're removing your own stuff to, say, protect them from some sort of board wipe or something, you will then get them back in your hand. And if they have finality counters on them, the finality counters will go away. Angel of the Runes is an awesome card. It lets you plain cycle it if you need lands, and it enters the battlefield and exiles 2 enchantments and artifacts, which is really, really good. We have an Avacyn, so we're running her. It's a crazy card. It gives everything indestructible. It's a game-winning card. Baneslayer Angel is an old classic. I love this card. I think I have a foil one from some secret lair. That's why it's probably still in the deck. It has protection from demons and dragons, and there are plenty of those now. And some of the dragons in this game are very, very good. Up until probably last week, the most popular commander was the Ur-Dragon. So this was a card that was actually very, very good. Bandage as a tier is really awesome. When it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. That player has more cards, and you create a treasure if they have more lands, and then you gain 3 life if they have more life than you. It's a 4/4 for 4 with flying, and it's got Myriad, which means the other one, when it attacks, you'll make copies of it. Myriad tokens are the same as the creature that's creating them, and because they're 4/4s, and they get sacrificed at end step, if you have Shilgengar out, you can sacrifice them after they deal combat damage, before they get destroyed with their sacrifice trigger, and get blood tokens, which is awesome. Bishop of Wings is not an angel, but it lets you gain 4 life whenever an angel enters, and whenever an angel control dies, you get a spirit, so you get a little extra value off of the angels that you kill. Boombringer Valkyrie is a 5 mana 4/4 angel warrior that has backup. It's got flying, first strike, and lifelink, and if you back up one of the creatures when you back up a creature when it enters, they'll gain those abilities. So let's say you have a Chroma out, you could turn this Bishop of Wings into a much larger threat, and it flies. Bruna the Fading Light, we don't have Gisela in the deck because we don't think we need her. Bruna's good enough. She can reanimate an angel or human from your graveyard onto the battlefield. When you cast her, it's a cast trigger because she's got the Eldrazi taint, so it won't matter. It also won't give you the return on ETB, but that's still fine. Dazzling Angel lets you gain extra life. It's also a low to the ground mana angel. That's why it's in here. There's a couple of those. Things like Dazzling Angel, Inspiring Angel, Giada. These are all cheap to cast angels, which Metropolis Reformer, which can be then sacrificed early on once you cast Shilgengar. We have a Desolation Angel in here. I don't think I've ever played it in a way that was fair. We can basically play it when we have Avacyn out, and it's rough. So, this is a mean card. It's mass land destruction, but people still play Armageddon, and it's really conditional. And honestly, if you end up reanimating it with Shilgengar, you're going to lose all your lands anyway, unless Avacyn's out, so it's a tough one to field. Plus, the art is awesome, and it feels to me like the best angel partner for Shilgengar. Speaking of partners, Lavala and Drana will turn off your opponent's activated abilities, and then you can copy those activated abilities with them. Furja is really good because she lets you look at the top 3 cards of your library when you cast your second spell, put one of them into your hand and the rest in your graveyard, so it lets you kind of loot cards away that you don't need, or angels into your graveyard. Giada is a mana rock creature that gets your angels bigger, which will only make more blood. And she's also just like one of the nicest looking cards in the game. I really like the art, especially on this one. Herald of the Host, another Myriad Angel that's just really, really good. It's a Sarah Angel, basically, but you get extra copies of it, which is awesome for Shilgengar. This Angel like Overseer will draw you a card and gain you a life when it enters. We talked about Camber. Keen Duelist is really good in a deck like this because a lot of your cards are so expensive. So you might reveal a 8 mana Avacyn and deal your opponent 8, and they might reveal a land and deal you nothing. Great card. Liesa, also another awesome Angel that seems to be attached to the whole black mana tainted by the dark thing. This one in particular lets you return your creatures to your hand at the beginning of your next end step. So yes, she has a replacement effect that will actually work at odds with Shilgengar if you need to, but you can kind of time things out the right way. I mean, you know how to play Magic. Also, she makes your opponent's creatures exile from the graveyard, so it ruins all reanimation strategies on the other side. Liesa Shroud of Dust is an awesome commander if you want to build her, but she's also fine in this deck because she's a 5/5 flying lifelinker. It says whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life. You have lifelink on a bunch of your creatures, so you don't care about the life loss. Lyra Dawnbringer specifically gives your angels lifelink, has lifelink itself, and pumps them. Great, great card. Magister of Worth lets your opponents vote, and you can either vote for Grace or Condemnation. If Grace gets more votes, each player returns all creature cards from the graveyard to the battlefield. Condemnation will destroy all creatures. Either way, I think you're going to get the most value out of it because all your angels are expensive and they're in the graveyard. Marionette Master, like I said, is another win condition. If you have enough bloods out, if you have enough clues out, she ends up like draining your opponents for a lot of damage. Merchant of Truth also makes clues. She says whenever non-token creature you control dies, you investigate. So you will get bloods off Shilgengar, and you will get clues off of her. And clues you control have Exalted. So the more clues you have, and if you swing in with one angel, you end up pumping that angel for the number of clues you have. So that can get out of hand pretty quickly. Metropolis Reformer has Flying, Vigilance, and gives you Hexproof. And whenever it's dealt damage, you gain that much life. So it's a good blocker. It also protects you from giants, like spells like River's Rebuke, that would bounce all your creatures. I mean, yes, you can sacrifice them all to Shilgengar in response, but still, it's nice to have and it's cheap. We saw the bats. Resolute Archangel resets your life total, which you may need to do, and which may happen more than once, depending on how many times you get to reanimate it. Resplendent Angel is now, thankfully, like under $10. This card is really, really good. With your lifelinking angels, you get more angels every turn, and it can pump all your creatures and give them lifelink. Plus, this art is awesome. I love it from Ixalan. Righteous Valkyrie also lets you sort of angelic chorus the toughness of all your angels. And if you have 7 life more than your starting life total, creature you control get +2/+2. Chances are good if you're ahead of the curve on the beginning of the game, you're going to have that life total. Sapphire Sky's Blade gives all your creatures with flying indestructible, and can be cast by tapping a bunch of angels or the flying spirits that you get from Bishop of Wings for much, much cheaper. Sarah's Emissary gives you protection from a card type, so you can protect yourself from instances against spell slingers or sorceries. You can protect yourself against creatures entirely. And giving yourself and your creatures protection from creatures can basically mean that you swing in every time without problems. And since so many of the things in your deck have vigilance, I mean, it doesn't even matter if you have vigilance. If you have protection from creatures, you're not taking damage from creatures, so this card's a win con. Starnheim Aspirant is another human that makes your angels less to cast. That's very important. Your angels are expensive. Sunblast Angel can destroy all tap creatures when it enters, so again, vigilant creatures for your angels are much better here, because you can play this card and destroy all tapped things. You can also, depending on when you reanimate with Shilgengar, because this is an instant ability, the reanimation effect, you can do it in surprise, depending on how much blood you have. Thief of Blood can pull all of the counters, including the finality counters, off of all of your angels when it enters, which can really be good if you reanimate everything. That means it's going to get all the finality counters, and yes, any additional plus and counters they get, but that's still fine. You'll have a giant flyer. Then all your angels are able to sack and reanimate again. Twilight Prophet's another similar thing to Keen Duelist here. You'll have the City's Blessing, probably because of a bunch of your tokens, and you'll be able to drain your opponents equal to the angel you reveal off the top of your deck, potentially, which is very, very good. Also a vampire, which feels thematically appropriate. We talked about Wojak, and then Youthful Valkyrie is a 2-mana, 1/3 flyer. This is another angel enters, you put a counter on it. So yes, this count can go to a ton of cards if it gets reanimated later on with Thief of Blood, and yes, it will lose all the counters, but that doesn't matter. And also, if you play it early and you start playing angels like on curve, fine, great. It also counts for the angel tokens, so it will get bigger off those, and this might actually become a threat all its own that your opponents have to deal with beyond Shilgengar. So yeah, that's this deck. It's not hard to build. It's a little expensive if you want the best angels, but I think it's a really fun deck. I think it's a good deck that's going to keep getting better with every set. As more and more angels come into the game, we might see some cool angels come in with Reality Fracture, so I can't wait to see if there's any Orzhov angels that like make the appearance. So yeah, if you have any angels that you think I missed and you think they would be really good in this deck, specifically ones with ETBs, I'd be glad to hear about them in the comments. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe, and wait for the next deck tech. It's going to be a doozy. Bon appetit.